Just like gone on YouTube to give your brain some new food.
Hello people, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, a special welcome to you. I ask that you check out the rest of my videos. If you like what you see, give them a thumbs up, leave a comment, but more than anything, I'm asking that you subscribe to the channel. Recently, there's been a publication that listed the most corrupted countries of the world, and Jamaica was ranked in the high 40s. So they explained this ranking, or how this ranking works, is pretty much if you are at 100, then you are the least corrupted country, and if you are 0, then you are the most corrupted country. So Jamaica has kind of like made itself just almost halfway. So it didn't make 50 and it didn't make over 50. Don't quote me, but I believe Jamaica ranked between 46 and 48, somewhere there. So pretty much what that means, Jamaica is moderately rife in corruption in comparing to, say, a country that would be in the 0 to 10 category. And even though I'm not going to address corruption in Jamaica today, the area that I'm going to tackle hovers over some level of corruption, because at the end of the day, what exactly is corruption? Corruption is an abuse of powers. Corruption is a betrayal of trust. So for example, when we speak about corruption in politics, it usually points to areas where a person was appointed a position, abused that position, and in most time for their own selfish needs. However, at the same time, corruption could be in the instance of where there is skimming and scamming in various areas, whether or not it has to do with politics. So, one example could be like, you are a police officer, you pulled over someone in Jamaica for speeding, but instead of giving them a ticket, you took a bribe, you took a payoff, and you just looked the other way. That is corruption. To some extent, one may defend that by saying the economy or the Jamaican government causes corruption to breed in Jamaica. I do agree that desperate men do desperate things. So in enforcement of that particular example that I just gave, let's just say the police officers in Jamaica are being underpaid and are being mistreated. In most cases, they're more likely to take a bribe than they would actually execute their job the way that they should do their job. But what I'm talking about today is really about getting documents signed in Jamaica. And what if you do not know a JP? I've been wanting to cover this subject for the longest because about 2.5 years ago, I was in Jamaica and I needed some official documents signed, but I've been living overseas for quite a while. So in reality, I don't know any JP in Jamaica. Then again, I did find out that someone that I knew had recently become a JP, but that didn't help me because I found that out after I had to go through my whole struggles of getting someone to sign these documents. So in Jamaica, most time if you're getting a driver's license, a passport, or any official document, it usually has to be signed by a justice of the peace, a pastor, a doctor, or someone of a high position or a trusting capacity where the Jamaican government validates their signature or their acknowledgement of you as bona fide. But Jamaica is one of the few countries in the world that does that. And the reason why Jamaica does that is because Jamaica is suffering from a database problem. So what I'm saying is, if you go to Jamaica, in most government offices, people are still dealing with things, filing things manually. So Jamaica is like slow in that area. How many people are in Jamaica? How many people live in this neighborhood? And so on and so forth. Jamaica is still far away from accuracy, while other countries are up on that because of digitalization, of identity card, and so on and so forth. But I'm not getting into all that today. What I'm getting into is, how do you get documents signed in Jamaica if you do not know a JP? And while at it, like I say, it offers some level of corruption, because in reality, lying is also corruption. So a person in an official capacity like a JP who is going to write the fact that they know me when in reality it's the first time they saw me, that in some instance, even though I might be the beneficiary of this situation, that to some level is corruption because he or she does not know me. Someone who I met while I was in Jamaica took me to her and says, this person is Jamaican and he would like some documents signed. I barely knew the person that took me to her, and I did not know the Justice of the Peace at all. So how do you assess that? Or what I'm trying to say with this video is, how does the Jamaican government help Justice of the Peace to stay honest, stay true to their job, but at the same time help Jamaicans such as myself who might not be acquainted with them personally? How do we get around that? It is clear that the immediate solution for that situation is a better database for the Jamaican government. I mean, it may put JPs out of work as much as they're in work today, but at the same time, it will make expat Jamaicans and Jamaicans living in Jamaica get through business and get through their paperwork faster. Speaking of getting through business and paperwork faster, I'm not veering off the subject for too long. What's the story? Well, when it comes to Jamaican company, especially the government companies of Jamaica, why is it that everything has to take so long? Why do they drag their legs so much? I mean, I used to live in Jamaica, and as a child, I remember visiting offices where they would have queues of people waiting outside the office, and every so often I would peek inside to see what's taking them so long, and most of the time they're doing absolutely nothing at all. And 2.5 years ago, when I was in Jamaica, I had to go to Harbour Street to get a document stamp or a document signed, which would take about less than 2 minutes in the rest of the world to get done. And I'm not saying other people weren't there. There were maybe about 30 people in front of me. But the Jamaican system was so annoying, and the Jamaican system was so brain draining, it was ridiculous. You had to go to one window to pay, you had to go to a different window just to deliver the documents, and then you have to go to a third window just to pick up the documents. But the reason why I put that in there is the speediness or non-speediness of processing documents in Jamaica I'm talking about. Because in that particular situation down by Harbour Street, I looked around to see what the people were doing while I was waiting the 2-3 hours I was there. And I'm not lying. They were doing absolutely nothing. Some were on their phone, don't know if they were on social media or whatever. Some were talking to each other, but they were doing nothing. They were not working, while the rest of the world is ahead of Jamaica, because when they go to work between 9 to 5, with the exception of their lunch break, they work. They take care of business. The whole aim, the whole goal is to get people in and get people out. But not in Jamaica. Jamaicans have this attitude like they enjoy feeling like the big person, the important person, the person that everybody's waiting on. You need me more than I need you. And for that reason, they got all those people, including myself on that occasion, just waiting around unnecessarily. Anyway, back to how to get a document signed in Jamaica if you do not know a JP. I guess I would have to put that out there as a question because I don't have the answer. What I'm suggesting is just a proposal that would make the Jamaican system easier, but it's not a answer, because proposals can go to the Jamaican government and fall in deaf ears like it has been done for years. But how do you do that? How do you get documents signed in Jamaica if you do not know a JP? You do not know a high-ranking police officer. You do not know a school principal or anybody that's required to sign the documents. How do you get documents signed in Jamaica if you do not know a justice of the peace? And I'm not saying it's impossible. Jamaicans, to a certain extent, are trusting people. So I didn't have a problem getting my documents signed once I was introduced to a JP. I think the person assessed me and trust that what I'm doing is not dodgy. I had ID to prove who I was and so on and so forth. But in reality, there's a section in the document that says the JP has to say how long he or she knows you. This particular JP could not write on the document 5 minutes. So she would have to lie that she's known me for 5 years or 10 years and so on. So I'm not saying I did not appreciate the assistance, but what I am saying is, in some ways, because of the Jamaican system or lacking of a system to aid Jamaicans, it forces Jamaicans in official position, such as Justice of the Peace, to sometimes breach their sworn-in oath because they want to execute the job purely and sincerely, but then they are faced with cases such as mine. What to do then? Like I'm saying, the whole point of my message is we would like to see corruption rid from Jamaica, but we can't just focus on the head of corruption. We have to focus on even the minute level of corruption, because that's where it starts. A glass doesn't just break, it starts from a crack. So my question goes, how do we get around that? How do we get around aiding Justice of the Peace to maintain their oath? Because it's not as easy as how do you maintain police officers from stop being corrupt. It's very simple, in my opinion. The security forces of Jamaica, whether you're a police officer or a soldier, as long as your job is in the area of security force, I believe that you should be paid handsomely. And I say, pay the police handsomely, pay the soldiers handsomely. And when you find them doing any act of corruption, throw the book at them. Punish them like you would not punish any other Jamaicans in violation of the law. That's my solution when it comes to trying to rid corrupt police or corrupt law enforcement, man, because we need them to secure our borders. We need them to keep peace in our community. But at the same time, if they're hungry, if they're starving, they're desperate, and they will do desperate things. So let me know if you agree with my stance of paying police and soldiers more money. And in regards to corrupt politicians, first of all, I just believe that in the Jamaican government, in the scheme of things, in the parliament of things, there are some politicians that's been in parliament since I was a baby. I call them the dinosaurs of Jamaica's politics, and I just think they need to go, because their whole brain settings is of the 1960s and 1970s ways of politics in Jamaica. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So it's hard to get their old back in the day mentality to catch up to the modern day mentality. So what I'm saying, for example, you have new politicians in parliament, such as the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, or the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kamina Johnson-Smith. They're new faces to me. They're actually my age. So there's our new faces. So they have a new age of thinking. But then you've got people in politics, such as the Speaker of the House, Colonel Charles. You have people like Katie Knight. You have people like Bobsy Grange, Peter Phillips, Edmund Bartley. These people have been in politics forever. So nothing against these individuals personally, but my desire would love to see fresh faces of Jamaicans. I would believe that new faces have a new way of thinking. There's Colonel Charles Jr., who is in politics. He's a new face. I understand that he's Colonel Charles Sr.'s son, but at the end of the day, he's his own person, and even though he might have been schooled or tutored by his dad, I still like the sight of Colonel Charles Jr. over the sight of Colonel Charles Sr. That's just my opinion when it comes to Jamaican politics. The aim is to rid corruption. So I guess this vlog kind of turned out into a blended how to rid corruption in Jamaica versus the JP situation, because I really got on the camera just to discuss how do you get documents signed in Jamaica if you don't know JP, while keeping it within the law and not putting the burden on the justice of the peace to lie on that documentation. And that's pretty much it for the day today, people. I gotta get on with my daily work. But before I do, let me know how you feel about this video, how you feel about my question, how you feel about my suggestion or proposal. And as you know on my channel, I accept thumbs up, I accept thumbs down, I accept agreement and disagreement, because at the end of the day, each one teach one. Until next time, people. Peace.